We all love to watch movies about gangsters. Bank robbers are desperate guys, and on the screen they usually show how these guys, with a smile on their face, without a single drop of fear, rob a bank and lead a shootout. But let's imagine that the bank robber is not a criminal authority, who has been in prison more than once, but an ordinary person. What will he feel? How does he decide on this terrible act? This is Michael. And this is his daughter, Lisa. She was given a terrible diagnosis. If no treatment is given within a month, she will die. The insurance company refused, saying that this was not an insured event. The house has been seized due to late payments on the loan, and the salary will not cover even 1/100th of the cost of treatment. He wrote to all charitable foundations, but the answer is the same. Wait. But there is no time. Another month and his beloved daughter will be gone. He is in despair. Every day he wakes up in a terrible depression. In his head there is only one thought: where to get the money. And now, passing by the branch of one of the banks, a terrible thought comes to his mind. His legs buckled, and a terrible chill appeared in his chest. He practically does not notice anything that is happening around him. Finally he came to his senses. Realizing that it was just a picture in his head, he breathed a sigh of relief. However, after that, some unbearable feeling of guilt in front of his daughter does not leave him. Every day, he tells his daughter that it's just a cold, and that they will soon go to Disneyland, and when he is alone, tears flow from his eyes. He feels helpless. He tries to drive away thoughts of crime from himself, and convince himself that he should hope for the best, and that he should not commit a crime, because innocent people may suffer. But he lies to himself. The real reason why he doesn't want to commit crime is the fear inside him. And although he is sincerely ready to sacrifice his life for the sake of his daughter, he is incredibly afraid to go to the bank. It seems absolutely incredible that Michael is ready to sacrifice his life for his daughter, but he is not ready to commit a bank robbery. Here it can be said that he is hindered by social responsibility, and that he does not want to harm other people by saving his daughter. But now we will quickly see that this is not the case. Let's imagine a hypothetical situation that there is Michael's daughter and 3 innocent people who are strangers to him. Within 5 seconds you need to make a decision and press the button. If Michael does not press the button, then his daughter will be in the lava, but if he presses this button, then 3 innocent people will be in the red-hot lava. In this situation, Michael's choice will be obvious. But in a real situation, the fear of committing a crime and being punished for it makes the choice not so obvious. But why in some cases, is it easier to sacrifice your life or the lives of your loved ones than commit a crime? The answer is simple: fear. In simple terms, fear is just a certain set, quantity and ratio of hormones in our blood, that make us feel that very unpleasant feeling that we call fear. The fear of breaking the law is in our genes, and works at the subconscious level. It began to form from the moment the first social groups were formed. This fear is necessary for the survival of our species as a whole, since without the fear of breaking the law, it is impossible to organize social groups. This fear is always on the side of the human species as a whole, but often plays against a particular individual. The main danger of this fear is that it does not identify how fair the law is, it defends the law as something abstract and ideal. For example, if some madman adopts the law to take away beautiful wives, then the fear of the law will be on his side. Fear of the law is incredibly strong, as it is one of the basic factors of natural selection, because the probability of survival of a social group in a hostile environment is many times higher than that of an individual. Of course, not everyone has this fear, but most people have it. But let's get back to Michael. What influences his decision to rob a bank? On the one hand, the fear that is in his DNA. Moreover, the feeling of fear itself cannot be explained, and if you analyze the possible consequences of his crime, then Michael is ready for each of them, but he still feels some kind of animal fear. False antimotives play on the side of fear, which can be easily destroyed by constructing abstract situations, and a real assessment of what is happening, without excessive optimism. All this presses on Michael with great force. But love for his daughter takes over. Finally, he makes the final decision. But how to do that? It is only in films that they show how criminals are looking for a bank scheme, draw up a cash collection schedule, and hundreds of times before a robbery they come to the bank changing their appearance beyond recognition. Everything is different in life. As mentioned earlier, Michael is an ordinary law-abiding person, who has only broken the law a few times in his life, crossing the road in the wrong place. The more he begins to think about the crime, the less decisiveness he has left. He is afraid that if he continues to think about the crime, he simply does not have enough mental strength, and he will abandon his plan. Pay attention to this passenger, his name is Tom. Their fates with Michael will cross in the future. There is almost no time to save the daughter. Michael must act. In the morning, he approaches his sleeping daughter, looks at her for the last time, and goes to the bank. Michael walking very slowly, he wants to delay this terrible moment as long as possible. But the bank doors are already a few steps away. He stops. He hears almost nothing, except for the eerie howling in his ears. His legs, arms and whole body become incredibly heavy, he literally cannot move. He feels intense cold, barely holding back a shiver, even though it's hot outside. The unpleasant burning sensation in his chest intensifies. Now in his blood the maximum concentration of hormones of fear. He thinks what to do if the cashier refuses to give him money. He forgot about everything he had planned the day before. His brain is looking for an excuse to abandon his plan. And he finds it. Michael sees that there are a lot of people in the bank and persuades himself, no, it's not necessary today, there are a lot of people, I don't want victims. As soon as he thinks about it, he instantly feels better, his legs and arms are no longer heavy, he can hear the world around him again, and you can say that he feels joy. But this relief only lasts for a few minutes. He remembers his daughter and understands that today's reason is just an excuse not to do what he has planned. In fact, at that moment he was indifferent to the fate of people, he just became unbearably scared. He comes home, turns on the TV, and it becomes simply unbearably hard for him. He wants to cry, but he can't even do that, there are simply no tears. He himself did not notice how he fell asleep. And here comes the morning. This time, he no longer says goodbye to his daughter. He abruptly gets up and goes outside. He goes fast and decisively. There are no thoughts in his head. Hollow, in his mind. Everything happens as if in a dream. Michael acts like a zombie, without realizing what is happening. He doesn't hear his own voice at all. He seemed to have lost control of his body. In these seconds, he acts at the peak of his mental abilities. Suddenly Michael was in the yard, not far from the bank. He doesn't remember how he got here. He is in a state of shock. A few more seconds pass, and he comes to his senses. What he feels is just awful. He understands that there is no way back. Now he does not feel joy from the fact that he got money for his daughter. He doesn't remember it at all. Fear took over. He remembers the shots in the bank and he becomes even more afraid. At this moment, he wants to turn back time, and undo everything. Finally, he gets his feelings under control. As he planned, he changes clothes and leisurely goes outside. On the street everything is as if nothing had happened. The police go on a completely different call, no one pays attention to him. But it seems to Michael that everyone is looking only at him, and those who speak on the phone call the police. In his imagination, all the special forces and the police of the city have already been sent in search of him. And that top Homeland Security personnel are watching security cameras and satellite tracking his movements. However, this is just his imagination. All is calm on the street. He really wants to run, in order to be in some quiet place as soon as possible. Our primal instincts play in his subconscious. But he can't run. With an incredible effort of will, he forces himself to walk calmly. Now time has stopped for him. It seems to Michael that seconds have turned into hours. This road home, lasting no more than half an hour, was the longest road in Michael's life. It was an incredible load on Michael's psyche. When he got home, he fell on the bed and instantly fell asleep. He slept for almost a day. When he woke up, the first thing he did was turn on the TV and start watching the news. It seemed to him that the police were already on his trail, and were looking for him. But the news didn't say a word about yesterday's robbery. Michael paid for his daughter's treatment. Every day his daughter got better. And finally, Michael no longer needs to think about the possible loss of the person dearest to him. He can calmly watch his beloved little daughter enjoy life. However, he has to deal with incredibly strong panic attacks from time to time. It seems to him that the police are constantly watching him. He sees police officers in disguise literally in every stranger on the street. He constantly thinks about the arrest, and how he will behave in this case. But a photo of his daughter on his phone always reassures him. After everything that happened, Michael changed. He stopped tolerating loud music in the evenings, near his windows. And he was no longer afraid to return home from work, late on foot. The panic attacks subsided over time. And we can say that this is a story with a happy ending, but only if you do not take into account one fact. Remember that passenger named Tom who once rode with Michael. Tom worked as a security guard at the bank that Michael robbed. On that terrible day, Michael acted in a state of shock and still remembers the shots, but the defense mechanisms of his psyche hid the fact that his shots did hit their target. Thus, on the day when Michael actually saved his daughter's life, he took another person's life. Tom is survived by 2 children and a wonderful wife. But we will talk about Tom and his act in the next story, which is no less fascinating than this one. And now, I want all of us to think about the following. In a world where congressmen shout at every speech that the most valuable thing is a person's life, Where the rich buy incredibly expensive things, completely unaware that the price of one branded bag is commensurate with the price of several courses of treatment for terminally ill children. And paying for 1 hour in the company of luxury whores costs the same amount as treating a dog, which a poor family simply cannot afford. As a result, Emmy has to watch as her four-legged friend just goes to heaven before her eyes. And we all put likes under their videos in social networks, where they show their luxurious life and their holidays. In a world where crazy taxes are paid, the main task of which should not be to provide luxurious official cars for officials and charter flights for presidents, but to save the lives of ordinary people. In this damned world, there are people who are left alone with their problem. Who have to make a terrible choice, to kill to save, or just watch the death of their child.